So you want to get into the world of VTubing but aren't quite ready to commit to a live 2D model. Fortunately, there's a plethora of different PNGtubing programs to get you started, but it can feel a little overwhelming at first trying to decide which one to use. I've used quite a few different ones myself, so today I'm going to go over some of the pros and cons that I found to hopefully help you come to a decision on which one is right for you. I do want to give a disclaimer that while there are a ton of different programs for PNGtubing, my video today is going to focus on just 3 that I personally use and can vouch for. For the purpose of this video, I decided to make a new PNGtuber and set it up in each different program to see how it worked. I also want to mention that none of this is sponsored and I am making this just completely on my own accord. I'm going to start off with what I personally find to be the weakest of the 3, but still boasts a lot of really fantastic and unique features, and that is Honk. Honk is boasted as a VTuber lip sync suite made by Dream Toaster, and it is currently still in beta. Honk has a lot of versatility as a program and is one of the only, if not the only, program that I know of that does different mouth forms based on vowels and consonants. You can make really involved mouth movements this way, and depending on how you set it up, can end up with a really precise mouth. It also has compatibility for pupil tracking, so you can set up your model to follow your cursor when you either play games or draw, which is great for adding some extra movement as well. It also has bounce transition animations, so that when you speak, there can be a little extra oomph to your PNG. When using a Honk with OBS, you have to keep the Honk window open, as it isn't capturable when it's dropped down. You can change the background color to your needs, and I personally always set it to a green so that I can use a chroma filter on OBS to make it transparent. Your mouth will only move when you've clicked off of the Honk program itself, so it can be a little finicky at times, especially if you have multiple windows or programs open, to get the layering of your windows correctly. Honk only supports PNGs, so if you were hoping to implement an idle animation with a GIF, you'll have to look elsewhere. This means that ultimately, all of your movement on Honk will be coming from your mouth, your pupil tracking, and any bounce that you add for when you speak. Honk allows for up to 8 different toggles on a file, which I personally find to be a little limiting, but ultimately it isn't too bad. With any of these programs, I find that if you're running out of expression or toggle slots on one model, you can just duplicate a file with the changes or outfits that you want, and then save the toggles for actual expressions. Now, I will say that one of my biggest caution warnings for Honk is with regards to the setup. I personally find it to be really clunky and not very intuitive, and I think the layering system that they have is a little frustrating to use. There are a few video tutorials online that you can follow along with to make the process easier though. I've been using Honk on and off for almost 2 years now, and I've had to create a couple different PNGtubers on it, and despite having done it multiple times, I still find myself struggling with the setup each time. I wish there was a way to make it more intuitive, but I'm not really sure that that's something that's possible. Honk also sits at the steepest price point of all of these programs at $12, which you can find on itch.io. For this reason, I would maybe caution any newbies to PNGtubing away from Honk, as it isn't the most beginner-friendly program, and if you're really trying to pinch pennies, those $12 can feel like a lot. That being said, I still use Honk every week on my channel that I share with my sisters, as it's the best program for our needs at the moment, and I still really enjoy being able to use it. Up next is a really stellar program, and one that's kind of swept the VTubing scene recently. A lot of people are talking about this one, and a lot of people are using it. And for good reason. Pngtuber Plus. Pngtuber Plus was made by Kaya Kairos, and I believe it is also still currently in beta. Pngtuber Plus is known for how fluid and animated it can make a PNGtuber look. The sheer amount of movement that you can incorporate into your model is honestly a little bit overwhelming, but there's a lot of room for innovation with this program as people test the limits and features. This program doesn't support just bouncing, but also rotation, drag, and a few other options. I personally find that out of the programs I'm talking about today, this app lends itself the most to bridging the gap between PNGtubing and VTubing by creating really animated and partially rigged PNGtubers. That being said, it is a lot more intensive process-wise, both for the art and for the setup than the other programs. As far as the art goes, you no longer are going to have just 1 or 2 PNGs being swapped between, or like you would with Honk, a base with different mouth options. Instead, what's more likely is that your model will have to be cut for consideration on how everything is going to bounce and what pieces are in front of what. Ultimately, you can make this as simple or as involved as you want, so the level of difficulty can be dependent on your own needs. With mine, for instance, I separated my layers according to what I wanted to make jiggle and what was in front. I will say, I personally had some frustrations with the canvas sizing, and I wish there was an easier way to resize the entire model in the program rather than having to have the size right in the first place. Maybe there's a feature for that and I don't know. I guess comment and tell me if this is something I'm missing out on and just like totally missed in the guides. As far as I'm aware, PNGtubber Plus supports up to 10 hotkey toggles, coming in just a little bit over what Honk offers. Again, if this is too few for you and you wanted tons of expressions and outfit changes, just make a duplicate model with the outfit change and save the toggles for use with expression swapping. The setup definitely leans more towards the difficult end of the scale, but thankfully the creator made a really comprehensive and easy to follow guide, and there are by now quite a few tutorials you can follow if need be. The more complex your model cutting is and how bouncy you want your model to be will change just how difficult the setup will be. Personally, I found that I had the most trouble through the whole process with dealing with the file folders and navigating that internal menu. However, if you just follow the guide, you'll make it out in the end. PNGtubber Plus is at a pay-what-you-want rate on itch.io and free on Steam, making it easily accessible cost-wise and also being easy to find online. If you're looking for a very fluid and eye-catching PNGtuber, this might be the best option for you. The final program I'm going to talk about is one that is deceptively simple at a glance. Veadotube Mini. Veadotube Mini was made by Omele and Bella and marketed as being lightweight and easy to use, which I absolutely agree with. Veadotube Mini is a very simple program as far as setup and interface goes, but I find that it has the most potential and the least amount of limitations as far as PNGtuber programs go. It's different from PNGtubber Plus in that you don't customize the bounce rate of each piece, and closer to a standard PNGtuber in that it is just image swapping rather than any kind of rigging. There are a ton of bounce animations though, and you can adjust the intensity of some of it to fit your needs. There are a few things that make Veadotube Mini stand out to me though. From what I can tell, there's seemingly no limit to the amount of hotkey expressions you can have, and it works with GIF files as well as PNGs, meaning your PNGtubers can have idle animations. For this reason, paired with the various bounce and shaking options, I think you have the potential to create a really, really creative PNGtuber model, so long as you utilize things correctly. Part of why I regard this program so highly is for its simplicity and ease of functionality. It is really easy to get the hang of, and I think it's something that a beginner could become acquainted with in no time. It also isn't a heavy program, which, when it comes to streaming and already having to have a million programs open, having a lightweight program can take some pressure off your PC. Like PNGtubber Plus, Veadotube Mini is at a pay-what-you-want price on itch.io, meaning it is also super affordable cost-wise. Any of these programs are compatible with a touchboard program like Sami or Touchportal for a Stream Deck-like hotkey setup, something I'd like to make a video on in the future because it personally took me a lot of trial and error to figure it out on my own the first time, but makes using any PNGtuber program way, way easier, especially for hotkeys. There are a lot of options for you if you're looking to get into the world of PNGtubing, and a lot of resources to help you get set up. I know how overwhelming it can be to try and pick the right program, but hopefully this overview can help you make a more informed decision and maybe give you some more factors to consider that you hadn't before. If there are any programs you guys are curious about and would like a more in-depth review of, feel free to comment them down below so that I can check them out on your behalf. And until next time, I'm Masuo, sending you some of Cupid's love.